You know that feeling when your bank account is screaming at you, like, really screaming. The paycheck comes in, and you breathe a sigh of relief. Okay, I've got this. I'll pay the bills, stash a little away for savings, maybe even treat myself to something nice this month. But by the time the next paycheck rolls around, it's the same cycle. You're staring at your account wondering where it all went. It's almost like your money vanished into thin air. You might have even caught yourself thinking, well, at least I didn't splurge too much this month, or did I? There's this strange sense that, despite all your best intentions, something is always draining your balance. Well, you're not alone, and I spend way too much time thinking about money and the way our brains make decisions when it comes to finances. If you've ever found yourself wondering where your paycheck went, or why your savings never seem to grow, then this video is going to hit home. I share insights like these regularly, so if you want to stop the cycle of financial frustration and actually start taking control of your money, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. See, there's this 30% rule that most people don't even realize is silently holding them back from building true wealth. It's not about how much you're spending. It's about where your money goes, and more importantly, how your brain is tricked into spending it in the first place. Once you understand this, you can start making smarter choices that actually let you keep more of your hard-earned cash. Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll have a new perspective that could completely change how you think about money, and, yeah, it's a game changer. All right, let's get into it. The 30% rule is simple, but it's also much more insidious than you might think. It goes something like this: 30% of your monthly income is disappearing without you even realizing it. But it's not disappearing into some grandiose purchase or unexpected emergency. No, it's far sneakier than that. It's trickling out in small, seemingly harmless ways: little daily expenses, recurring subscriptions, and impulse buys. To give you an idea, think about those times you've gone out for a quick coffee or grabbed lunch during work. It's just a few bucks here and there, right? But add it all up over a month, and it can be hundreds. I'm talking about those $4 coffees, $10 lunches, or maybe that $15 subscription for a service you don't even use anymore. Yeah, those little things don't seem like much, but they add up and fast. And here's the thing, your brain is hardwired to not notice it. You probably don't even realize how much you're spending. And before you know it, a full 30% of your income has disappeared. But why does this happen? And quote disappeared. But why does this happen? Well, part of it is how your brain operates. You see, the human brain is notoriously bad at tracking small, frequent expenses. Ever heard of the latte factor? It's this idea that small, repeated purchases, like that daily latte, might not seem like a big deal. But if you looked at it as an annual cost instead of a daily one, you'd see just how much that $4 coffee could be turning into a few $1,000s a year. Example, the sneaky subscriptions. Let's dig into one of the most silent offenders: subscriptions. How many subscriptions do you have right now? Netflix, Spotify, Amazon Prime, maybe even a random magazine or app you signed up for just to try it. Look, I'm not saying subscriptions are evil. In fact, some are probably worth the money, like that streaming service you've been binge watching. But here's the kicker: a lot of people forget about their subscriptions. And over time, those forgotten services end up costing you a ton. Think about it. You pay $10 a month for that streaming service you haven't opened in months. No big deal, right? But $10 a month over a year is $120. And then there's that gym membership you haven't used since last January. Another $25 a month. Over the course of a year, you've just flushed $420 down the drain. When you start adding up all these small payments that you don't really use or need, that 30% rule starts to feel pretty real. You've got to think about these costs as part of your bigger financial picture. And trust me, when you do, you'll start seeing ways to eliminate some of that waste. Now, let's talk about the psychology behind all of this. Why do we make these small, mindless purchases? Why do we not track them? It all comes down to something I like to call the power of convenience. Think about it. We live in a world where everything is right at our fingertips. We're always just a few clicks away from buying something online or swiping our card at the checkout counter. And let's be honest, how often do you actually think twice about the $5 charge for a quick app purchase? It's almost like our brains are just conditioned to overlook these small costs. And that's what the retailers and marketers are counting on. They know that if they can make the purchase easy, your brain won't fight it. So you click, make the purchase easy, your brain won't fight it. So you click, you swipe, and before you know it, there goes another $5 and another $10. But here's the thing, if you were to track every one of those small, seemingly insignificant purchases, you'd be shocked by how much they really add up. A few bucks here and there might feel harmless in the moment, but over time, it's like filling a bathtub with the faucet on full blast. Before you know it, it's overflowing. Now, let's zoom out for a moment and look at how these small, seemingly insignificant purchases can have a ripple effect on your long-term financial future. It's not just about what you're spending today, it's about how these daily habits compound over time. Let's take a look at something that most people overlook: saving and investing. If you think about it, saving money is just as much about the money you don't spend as it is about the money you actually put away. And here's the kicker: small, daily savings can actually outpace the impact of a big one-time windfall. Imagine if, instead of spending that $4 coffee every day, you put that money into a savings or investment account. Over a year, that's $1,460, just from one small change. You wouldn't even notice it, but over time, it could grow, especially if you invested it and earned returns. Let's take it a step further. If you stuck with that habit for 5 years, you'd have saved over $7,300 without even feeling the pinch. And that's just from cutting back on something as simple as coffee. Imagine if you applied the same principle to other areas of your spending: lunch, subscriptions, gadgets, etc. Okay, let's talk about something that can really help you get a grip on your money: setting clear, achievable financial goals. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Nick, goals are great, but I'm just trying to make sure I don't end up living paycheck to paycheck. And honestly, I get it. A lot of us are in that survival mode, where it feels like you're just scraping by and trying not to fall into debt. But here's the thing: having clear financial goals can be one of the most powerful tools in your arsenal. It's like giving your money a purpose. It's not just floating around, getting wasted on small purchases. It's working towards something meaningful. And when you set these goals, it can make a huge difference in how you prioritize your spending. First, think about what you want your money to do for you. Do you want to buy a house in the next 5 years? Or are you more focused on paying off $10,000 of debt? Maybe your goal is to save enough money for retirement, or even a vacation to somewhere special. Whatever it is, make sure your goal is specific. "I want to save more money" is a good start, but it's not a goal you can really track or measure. Once you've decided what your financial goal you can really track or measurable is, break it down into smaller, manageable steps. You don't need to pay off all of your debt in a month, but you could make a goal to pay off $500 in the next 3 months. Now that you have a goal, the next step is prioritizing your spending. This is where that 30% rule comes into play. When you recognize that 30% of your income is slipping away to things you don't need, you can use that money to work toward your goals instead. Let's say you've set a goal to save $1,000 for an emergency fund. If you stop spending on mindless purchases, you could easily redirect that money toward your goal. If you cut back on your $4 daily coffee, your $10 lunches, and those $7 impulse buys, you're already looking at over $200 a month that you could be saving. In just 5 months, you'd have your emergency fund saved up. You can also prioritize your spending by thinking about what truly brings you value. When you focus on spending money on what matters most to you, everything else becomes less important. That's how you build financial clarity. Budgeting is the foundation of achieving any financial goal. But here's the thing: budgeting doesn't have to be some boring, restrictive activity that makes you feel guilty about every dollar you spend. Instead, it's about balance and knowing where your money is going. Once you know your goals and have a plan to achieve them, budgeting becomes easier. For example, if you're spending $50 a week on dining out, you could bring that down to $30 by meal prepping for the week. That's $20 you can now redirect to savings or paying off debt. You can also cut back on subscriptions that are eating up your budget, like that $10 streaming service you never use. One of the best ways to make sure you stay on track with your financial goals is to automate your savings. It's like setting it and forgetting it. You don't have to think twice about putting money into your savings or investment account because it happens automatically. That means you're never tempted to spend that money because you never tempted to spend that money because you never see it in the first place. For instance, if you want to save $500 a month, set up an automatic transfer from your checking account to your savings account as soon as you get paid. This way, you're paying yourself first, and you don't have to make a conscious decision to save. You've already done the hard work up front. The final piece of the puzzle is tracking your progress. When you're working toward financial goals, it's easy to get discouraged if you don't see results right away. But the key to staying motivated is to track how much closer you're getting to your goals every month. Let's say your goal is to pay off $10,000 of debt. If you focus on how much you still owe, it can feel overwhelming. But if you break it down into smaller chunks, say, paying off $500 a month, that feels more manageable. Track your payments, celebrate small victories, and keep your eye on the bigger prize. Now, this is where the magic happens. When you stop focusing on scarcity and start focusing on scarcity and start focusing on abundance, everything changes. If you spend all your time stressing about the money you're losing, you'll never get ahead. But when you start seeing your money as a tool for creating opportunities and achieving your goals, you shift into a mindset of abundance. This is a crucial mindset of abundance. This is a crucial mindset shift. Instead of feeling guilty about every purchase, you begin to feel empowered by your ability to manage your money. So, here's the deal. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to eliminate every little indulgence from your life. What you need to do is become aware. Aware of where your money is going. Aware of where your money is going. Aware of the small decisions that add up. And most importantly, aware that with a few small adjustments, you can put yourself in a much better financial position. The 30% rule isn't just about cutting back, it's about shifting your mindset. When you start recognizing the impact of those small daily spending habits, you can begin to take control of your financial future. You can make your money work for you, rather than letting it slip through your fingers. If you apply the strategies we've talked about, tracking your spending, automating your savings, prioritizing your goals, and adjusting your habits, you'll be amazed at how quickly things can start to change. So, what's next for you? Are you ready to take control of your finances? Are you ready to take control of your finances? Start small. Make one change today. That $4 coffee could be the first step toward your financial freedom. If you like this video and you want more tips on how to make smarter financial decisions and build the wealth you deserve, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I've got plenty more coming your way. Now, let's talk about a concept that really has the potential to shift your entire mindset about money: the hidden power of small sacrifices. And when I say sacrifices, I don't mean anything extreme like giving up all luxuries or living a life of deprivation. I'm talking about the tiny, everyday choices you make that add up to something huge over time. You might be thinking, but Nick, I'm already cutting back where I can, and maybe you are. But the question is, how often do you think about how your small actions are actually paving the way for bigger, long-term success? We tend to think of sacrifice as something big, painful, and obvious. But in reality, it's the little choices that matter most. It's deciding to skip that $10 snack or choosing to stay in one night instead of spending $50 on dinner and drinks. Here's the thing. When you make these small, intentional sacrifices, they don't feel like sacrifices at all. They feel like smart decisions. You don't have to be miserable or feel deprived to take control of your financial future. And over time, you begin to see just how powerful those small choices are. Let me take a moment to really illustrate this. We've all heard of compound interest, right? It's this magical force that makes your money grow exponentially over time. But what's even more powerful than compound interest? The compound effect of your behavior. Let's go back to that $4 coffee we've talked about. Let's go back to that $4 coffee we've talked about. What if, instead of spending that $4 every day, you saved it? That $4 every day, you saved it. That $4 per day, over a year, comes out to $460. Not bad, right? But if you take that $1,460 and invest it at an average annual return of 7% after 10 years, that's over $3,000. And after 30 years, that amount grows to more than $10,000. That's the power of small, repeated actions over time. If you keep making small sacrifices and redirect that money toward investing or saving, you can begin to see real growth. It's not about depriving yourself, it's about redirecting your focus so that those small decisions become long-term wins. Okay, now let's take a step back and talk about something that's a huge roadblock for a lot of people, the trap of instant gratification. You know what I'm talking about, right? You're out shopping and you see that shiny new gadget, or maybe a cute pair of shoes. It's hard to resist. The thought is, I've worked hard. I deserve this. And I get it. We've all been there. But here's the thing about instant gratification. It's often the enemy of long-term financial success. You get that temporary dopamine rush from your purchase, but that feeling fades quickly. What sticks around is the dent in your bank account and the regret that comes later when you realize that $500 could have gone toward a financial goal instead of a passing desire. Now, I'm not saying you should never indulge or enjoy your hard-earned money. It's important to treat yourself, but here's the trick. You can enjoy the things you love, but here's the trick. You can enjoy the things you love without letting them derail your bigger goals. By planning ahead, you can make room for those little luxuries without going overboard. It's all about balance. This is a big one. A huge part of taking control of your financial future is making the shift from being a consumer to being an investor.